The other one. Send a deep. Hey, Laura, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I hear you. Great, just waiting on the others to show up here.
Yep, no worries.
I've got pizza here to entice them to come.
Oh, nice. The good. Lunch is very massive. I'm gonna pick them up.
Yeah, Laura, so when you get around to uploading your equipment into a CSV format, I'll take a first crack at uploading it just to see if there's any tweaks. And then we can do another offline conference call. I can just show you behind the scenes a little bit how that works.
Yeah, it's great. I'd love to do it.
Perfect. All right. First is to arrive is Wendy, our OA.
Hi.
I got Laura Elridge from Fredericton on.
Hi, Laura.
Hello.
How's the weather in Fredericton today?
Well, it was a good minus 20 something with 40 centimeters of snow, and now we're getting 40 millimeters of rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
The rain, it's
40
supposed to
mils.
be coming through here today. It's snow, and it's that wet, heavy stuff that you can't fill your shovel with, so.
There is a pizza over here, Wendy.
Oh, yes. I shouldn't, but I'm going to.
This one's vegan.
Oh.
Supposed to be vegan.
Is it vegetarian or vegan?
Supposed to be vegan, but that cheese looks suspicious. And this is the standard old pepperoni.
Okay.
We'll do the mushrooms for Sean.
No mushrooms?
Sean's not a fan of mushrooms.
Who is?
Sean, we can never have pizza together. Thank you for ordering the food, John Harris.
No problem.
Who else is coming?
Christy said she was coming.
Do I need to have anything other than a big brain with me today? Because I don't even have that.
Nope, it's really just
Okay.
view the screen, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Thanks for ordering food, John.
No problem.
Yes. So I haven't eaten breakfast.
You're gonna be the captain for the food bank drive, Sean.
I think Christy said she wanted to tackle that.
Chad might take it on.
Did he?
Yep.
Nice.
You're gonna be gone. I guess. Well, when does it end?
Family day.
15th, yeah.
When are you leaving?
This Monday.
Yeah. Sean Robinson's here. He's going to Australia for a month and a bit for vacation.
Where it's summer.
We have people on.
Oh yeah, Laura Elridge from Fredericton's on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because Jordan's out there. You got them kind of excited for it.
Yeah.
We're just waiting on Christy Sestra
Watch.
to show up as well, and then we'll get started.
Is that it? I thought there was more on the invite list.
Dave was on it. Treasury was on it.
Oh.
I think I had Clayton on there originally too.
And then put the new equipment manager on that.
Yeah, there was probably somebody who's already on it last week.
Who is new equipment manager?
Still undecided.
I'm still being copied on all the emails.
Yeah, it's because it's a group email.
Oh.
So it's like the reception email.
Okay.
So all you do, Charles just needs to add or take people off of it, or anybody in IT. So I had this set up for the way this is set up. Like there's notifications or automated reporting. So they'll currently get sent to that email. So yeah, you get all the So that way if someone leaves or whatnot, then it's not stuck, just getting sent to the ether.
We'd leave Dylan. How much was that mouse pad, Wendy?
This is great. $22 and worth every penny.
I like your
Look,
bookmark.
it came to $15 in it. Because I write on little pieces I write on a pad of paper, and then I can't find it, so I get another pad of paper. Then I write on a post-it note. Then I write a random I'm I like to write lots of stuff, but I never have it in one spot. So I'm trying to.
I do that too.
I don't make a resolution, but I'm trying to just be better organized, so I don't go last minute. Oh, I've got a meeting with John for Panda Assets, even though I've got a calendar. I'm not doing too well though. All of a sudden I was like, yep, blank. Is there a way I can put a bookmark or for a file that's been shared with me on Google Drive?
Yeah. Yeah, it should be as simple as saving it as a favorite.
Or is it-
It's a little star button in the top.
Like on the Google bar.
Yeah. Or wherever you see fit.
But I wanna.
Yeah, well, that'll save this whole thing.
Yeah,
That's what you want.
I need to read all these
Yeah.
files. So
Get done.
okay.
It'll show up in your bookmark.
Okay, thank you. Did you chat with Christy?
She said she's coming. That was 4 minutes ago.
Time to get Diet Coke.
Yes. To bright people. See, I named the hangout.
This has been your baby for a while now.
It's coming up on a year.
Jeez.
No, it's more than a year now. So
Your legacy when
I started looking at.
After he leaves, he'll email. Not how are you? How's Assert Panda doing?
It's still alive.
how's my panda? You should have rented like a baby panda or something for this meeting. Hang out with it.
My mom used to have this little stuffed panda toy thing. It was like a remote. You pop a battery in it and it would walk.
Oh,
I wanted
we
to.
need
I
that.
wanted to get it for their lunch and learn. I just have it walking on the table or something. They gave it away years ago.
You ever watched that movie back in the day? It's got to be like 20 years old now.
Kung Fu Panda?
No, it was about real baby pandas and I don't know, some adventure they had. It wasn't like it was based on a true story kind of thing. It's basically just a bunch of real footage of baby pandas tumbling around and stuff. It was amazing.
They're pretty adorable.
Well, the amount of money that goes into their conservation every year probably save like a couple dozen other species.
Mm.
Well, actually, all those posters I put around, that was a conservation. It was a WWF thing to raise awareness of conservation. I put those. I think it was 1,000 paper mache pandas in various spots.
People only want to save the cute animals.
Yeah, that's it.
My dad's theory was, way back in the 70s, is that we can farm, I don't know if that's the right word, rabbits a lot faster because of the gestation period, and chickens lay one egg and then the next day one egg, whereas rabbits, they have like 26 at that. But we don't eat rabbits like we eat chicken because rabbits are so much cuter. That's just the cute
It's
factor.
the baby complex. The Bambi complex. All right, I think we'll start. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Just in time.
Good timing.
We're just about to start, and Christy walked in. Okay, Laura, we're good to go now.
I need to rethink my decision not to eat pizza.
So we get Laura in from Fredericton as well,
Hi, Laura.
because
Well,
Jordan's out there now, so he kind of showed them what's going on. I think everybody's excited right now. All right, so I'll make this I'll try to go as quicker than I did the last luncheon or last week. It took about 40 minutes, but bigger crowd. So we'll go through this pretty quick. So a bit of background, I took over as acting equipment manager for the Toronto office last December or January or so, just in time for the field room in Toronto to move. So I had to figure out how to fully inventory stuff, and I kind of brought up the aspect of equipment being obsolete and the need for a better system for tracking equipment. So I did a bit of research and put in a business case for coming up or using a cloud-based tracking platform that's dedicated to such matters. So I looked at a couple of options and came up with Assert Panda as the test platform. So we have a subscription for 500 assets for a year. Essentially, it's the end of May till the end of this May, because it took a lot more back and forth than I hoped, because I put my business case in March, but I didn't get it till right for field season.
Right, and in the time of year where you didn't have time to actually do anything about it.
Exactly.
Joy.
So what's an asset? Assets are sometimes defined as resources or things of value that are owned by a company. So good examples for this for Dylan are the cash, accounts receivable, inventory, investments, land, buildings, and equipment. So it's pretty much anything we have money invested in. Quick examples are handheld GPS, field tablets, water level meter, off the office, Dylan vehicles. So management of equipment, it's outlined under P11 of the BAM, which when I asked last week, no one raised their hand as to familiarity with this. And I really, to be honest, didn't have familiar with it, because being a terrestrial biologist, don't really use things that get signed out and recovered for cost too often, if at all. So P11, it outlines the details of what our procedures are for owned equipment and consumable field supplies, and how items are supposed to be cost recovered. Essentially, the office manager dictates the system for equipment management. There are some standard templates that we can use, but each office tends to do their own thing. The equipment manager under the OM is assigned with carrying out the system for equipment management, and then the lead auditor overviews everything, makes sure everything's according to the prescribed system and the BAM. From my talking with various equipment managers throughout the company, everybody's using antiquated methods such as paper, logs, and Excel spreadsheets. Some have tried more modern methods, such as here we tried cloud-based Google Sheets, but again, no one filled it out. And then Fredericton out east, they try using Survey 123. So from this, I've identified several issues, and it's no surprise to anybody that is aware of the platform now that there's no central database of our collective office level assets from like a field equipment basis. Equipment depreciation isn't being tracked readily, resulting in obsolete equipment being held onto for long periods of time, which I can attest to from having cleaned out the field room in Toronto, where there is equipment that predated me and many of the younger staff here. So these outdated equipment, there's absence of labels, there's lack of data on certain materials and equipment, which has resulted in lost items, misplaced items, or items being sold off when they should have been retained, such as several aluminum flush mounts I sold off when Shane requested I was supposed to hold on to them. But again, he didn't reply to my email, so I don't take full responsibility. But again, if they were labeled or inventory properly, it wouldn't have been that much of an issue. And again, for a lot of what's being done now, it's a lot of manual updating of the inventory cost recovery tables and any consumables, which leads to a loss of revenue from not recovering equipment and consumable costs. So I came up with a proposed solution, Assert Panda. So it's a cloud-based platform, as I said, it's dedicated to the management and tracking of assets. So we have a year-long basic subscription, which accounts for 500 assets. The DI initiative was to be between 3 trial offices, Toronto, Kitchener, and Oakville. Although Kitchener and Oakville have been fairly unresponsive. So right now it's Toronto and Saskatoon, because Saskatoon got interested when I did a spiel to the Spatial Information Service line. So Saskatoon's assets are on there right now. And then hopefully in a week or so, we'll probably have Fredericton and St. John on there too. So
Centralized database between all the offices?
yeah,
or-
so the plan is at the end of this subscription, if it's determined that this meets our goals or objectives, fits in with the way things work at Dillon, then the plan would be to have all offices on here. Then you could go into any one of our offices, and you should be able to look at the app and know what's in the office, what's available, and we won't run into the issue we had last week. Day of lunch and learn, where's the Archive Eagle 2? No one seems to know. Turns out Oakville came here and took it without telling anybody. So we did find it, thankfully.
How did they get into our field room?
I don't know.
Yeah. I didn't get
That was
any-
Rebecca, she was here.
So how did she get into our field room?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Someone had to let her in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like
Wasn't
that.
me.
But at any rate, that's
I
beside
think
the
that we
point.
might need another year of like this trial run.
Yeah, it's gonna be a slow rollout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, we didn't actually get to use it during
No.
field season to test.
Yeah,
if it is needed in our
there's a
environment.
bit there is a bit of an advantage to it slowly rolling out now because fieldwork it's trickling right now, so we're able to take things out and fix the bugs. If we had started it right in May or June, then it would have
Chaos.
been crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, right now.
But we know how to work in crazy. It's the,
Yeah.
it's the slow organized rollout that we have problems with.
Yeah, so having a few offices on there at the start will be a little easier to ease other offices into it. The biggest issue for such as Oakville and I don't know Kitchener specifically, but their inventory is a bit out of date, so they have to essentially overhaul their inventory, which is a bit of a deterrent for uploading stuff. We had one advantage in that we were dismantling our field room and moving everything, so I had to pretty much start from scratch, which made things a lot easier. So some advantages of having this particular platform, I looked at a couple other ones, Trimble All Track, and there's one from Cat and all this, and they were, well, the reason I chose this one as the DI is that it's pretty much fully customizable, so we can change things and add things as needed. I had a 14-day trial and then got approved, so we went back in and had an implementation specialist, and she said, "Oh, this is great. I don't have to do anything because you pretty much set it up."
Wow.
And we're constantly tweaking things based on feedback and suggestions. There's unlimited users, so the subscription cost is based on the number of assets. It's not based on the number of users. So you can have everybody in the company on here. I'd really just be field users and admins and people that are using the equipment. And then we can set permissions as needed. So people have admin access. They can tweak things as needed. And then there's just regular users where everything's just grayed out and they can just check things in and out.
I think 500 assets will be enough for all the offices. and stuff.
No, I'll have to increase. And right now in our trial basis, we just uploaded a lot of our higher end equipment. So we don't have all the shovels, we don't have all that stuff. Ideally, we can put that on there too down the road, but right now we have 90 out of 500 used up between Saskatoon and Toronto. There's also a capability of barcoding equipment, which is another aspect as to what led to this, was conversations with Shane Giles about adding QR codes and barcodes onto equipment. I'm like, how am I going to do that just using Google Sheets? So that's kind of looking at a dedicated platform kind of led to this. So I'll run through a test of this. You'll see everything's barcoded, so staff can easily look items up to check things in and out. There's also capability for unlimited uploads of documents, invoices to the various pieces of equipment, as well as automated reporting. So I'll run into this more detail, as well as automatic notifications for late returns of items, low stock of consumables, and missing components. So if somebody forgets to return something on such a date, they get an email every day at 3 p.m. until they return it. And again, that's fully customizable, so it can be revised as needed. So what does this mean to those at the table and on the call here? So if you're field staff regularly using equipment and consumables, you'll be expected to use the phone app or web platform to check items in and out, and then take or add stock of consumables where needed. Admins who may be checking out higher end equipment from reception or health and safety equipment on behalf of staff can use the web-based platform to check out items.
So did in Toronto, like the cameras and all that stuff get added?
Yep, they're all on there. So I'll be running through this with Maisie and anybody else that'd be at reception.
And then she doesn't need her calendars anymore, right?
Yep, there's actually an internal calendar in this platform as well.
Okay, so is there a way to like pre-reserve using the app?
Yep, I'll get into that. So then this also help for better recovery of equipment and materials, which also means project managers need to be aware that there are certain items that are supposed to be recovered, which may not already be.
Is that somebody's phone outside? Wow,
Loud.
it's very loud.
So moving forward, staff using equipment or distributing equipment will receive a welcome email and will be allowed to be a regular user with no editing capability, just viewing only and checking things out using the action items. Staff will be expected to check out equipment using the app or the web-based platform, and we are able to track users, so I'll know whether you logged in or not. Sean. Just singling you out because I know you're
Is
using.
Sean already breaking the rules?
Oh, he hasn't received the invite yet. So after the lunch and learn, you get the invite.
You run a tight ship, John. I love it.
Yep, we'll try to. So enough talk. We'll do a live demo now.
Enough talk, he writes enough talk that says enough talk, John. Okay, perfect.
So I am able to run through the web-based platform, and I was just fiddling around with something right now. So just close that.
Is this vegan cheese?
Which one did you pick?
The vegetable one?
How is it?
It's not cheese.
What is it?
It's
It's very creamy.
yeah, it's made with coconut.
Bug protein or something?
You're throwing me off. You're throwing me off here, Sean. Okay, so you let me log out here.
Okay. Flustering you.
It's from the UK. It's I forget the name of it. Okay, so once a user gets their login, and it's essentially just their email and then a temporary password, which will be prompted to change. You'll log in, and based on there's settings for each user. They can change their login page. I have mine set up for a calendar. So there's various calendars that can be applied to materials or equipment. So we can show which ones are checked out, which materials are expiring and which day, just as an overview on the calendar here.
Is that, you have it on calendar because you're acting equipment manager? Would I choose this calendar the best way to?
Yeah, it's a personal preference.
Okay.
You can, so at the top here, you'll see there's these various what we call groups. So our asset count of 500, which we have on the basic subscription, accounts only for those that are considered equipment assets.
Okay.
So any of these additional groups don't count against our 500. So some of these are more so just for organizing purposes, such as asset categories, which is how the equipment has been categorized. Each one has a unique identifier, which starts with the office code. So in Toronto, it's 20, and then dash, and then it'd be the equipment series. So anything that's electronic optics will have maybe 2600 something.
Okay.
And for certain equipment, based on feedback from spatial information, if we add tablets on here, which we have one tablet so far on here, as those are considered more capital or corporate assets, they have a code of 00 to note that they don't have any standing office.
The office owns that.
Yes.
Okay.
What about health and safety? That's 00 there.
So it would
too.
be 20
Yeah,
dash
so-
000
Yeah.
dash item number.
Yeah, you'll see things, and I've added in the equipment managers for each office at the time. There's also opportunities to integrate this system with current systems such as Active Directory. So, because we have a group for employees, we don't have to, or someone doesn't have to continue to go in here and update it manually. It can be linked in with our current platform or systems.
Okay. So when a new employee gets added,
Yeah, it just it'll automatically
cool.
update the system. Right now, I just uploaded everything because it's not official yet.
Yeah.
And again, rooms where certain pieces of equipment are stored, and this all feeds into equipment assets, which that's kind of the main focus here. So I'll leave that for a little bit. Like I said, employees, and then materials is one we've added in. So none of these get dinged against our asset count. These are all what would be considered consumable materials usually. So I just updated these turbidity standards this morning for the expiration dates. And the way this is set up is staff can use these what are called action items. So either using on the web-based or the smartphone app. If they're taking something, they'll click on the action item. This will come up on their phone or on here. They'll say they're taking 5 shop towels, and if something's considered recoverable, then the recoverable routine thing is a conversation that's higher above my pay grade.
Yeah.
You'll note whether it's recoverable on a project, and you can jot down the project number, and this will automatically update the number of available units in the field room. And the way this is set up right now, noting again it's customizable, so it can be adjusted as needed. For anything in Toronto, if the available units drops below 3, it sends an email automatically to the Toronto equipment manager to order more.
So you set that on a per item basis. So for shop towels specifically, when there's only 3 left.
You can go further in detail.
Okay.
Right now, it's just set for any material, any drops below 3.
Okay.
I better add more in so I know how much is left. And we can check. I set this up so you can track the cost of certain items too. And my math is apparently off.
Yeah.
Additionally, we've added in kits for the field. So this is based on feedback from other offices such as Saskatoon, and for initial conversations with Jeff Allaby out east. That one issue are field kits. So field kits is a bit of a conversation still to happen because certain offices charge or recover costs on field kits. In Toronto, we have ELC, there's health and safety kits, there's soil vapor. Some of these kits have consumables that would need to potentially have cost recovery as well, so I'm trying to figure that out right now.
We have to beef up that SCN kit for sure.
Yeah, it was just starting to fiddle around with this. So this is a work in progress still. So it's based on feedback and suggestions from staff, but it's treating these same as assets. These can be checked in and out. Getting into the equipment assets themselves. So the way this is set up right now, it's again you can adjust this as needed. This is just me fiddling around with it, trying to see what is best fit for coming up on this page. So having an image of what the equipment is, the current status, that Dillon ID. So 20-109 means it's Toronto and it's in the surveying category. In the office, description of what it is, brand number, action item to reserve equipment. And once I enter in something, I'll do this.
How would I know that was a field tripod as opposed to the camera tripod?
It would likely depend on the series category.
Right, so the 109 is a field. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
surveying. Yeah, so if we
Okay.
add in easels or more office based, we can
We have
add
tripods
we can add
upstairs.
in a asset category.
Okay.
So take this turbidity meter for example. So this one is currently checked out to Sean on a long-term loan.
Permanent fixture in your trunk.
It is actually good in the office today. And Laura knows a bit about this. I've explained to her over the phone as well. So each asset has all these fields assigned to it. So these fields are attributes, may not apply to each piece of equipment, and it also depends on the existing data we have for certain equipment, such as the original cost, who was purchased by, the purchase date, and such. We've also added in an additional components to asset, so you'll see when we check things out, this will come up, so staff know whether all the components are with the piece of equipment. And then there's also whether equipment is recoverable or routine, and the set bill and recovery cost rates based on the I forget the name of there's like a equipment list for all these fees that is set up by I think it's by finance with all
Yeah.
these codes. So this is the bottom here for each asset is just kind of a history of everything, all the action items that have been applied to it. And I'll go into that further. The audit history. So there are audit capabilities with this, which I'm working with Ryan, our lead auditor in Toronto, to figure this out a bit, how to best approach it. Notification histories. So if someone forgot to return this on time, Sean, this will show up whether you've been notified or not.
For Monday.
Yeah.
Any changes to the equipment? So a full tracking of what's been changed in here. Editing any fields. And this just shows up as white right now. If this is a regular user, this will all be grayed out so no one can change things accidentally.
Good call.
And then linked materials. So if there's certain materials or other things linked to this certain piece of equipment,
Wow.
we'll be able to know so all these standards are in Sean's turbidity meter right now. And we each have the expiration dates on them. Whether the equipment's associated with anything else. So this is tied with Toronto. It's just tied with the field room in Toronto, and it's currently signed out to Sean. So we're getting flustered because I'm just
You're doing so good,
You're
man.
doing so
Yeah.
good.
just
I'm
there's
very
so much
impressed.
there's so much I
If
don't
you
want to
have
blurt it all out
something-
here.
If you like, I know you regularly take instruments for calibration and stuff.
I'm getting
is
into
that-
that.
oh, sorry.
Yep, next thing.
I thought it
You're
was-
getting ahead of me there,
Sorry,
Wendy.
I thought it was in your
It's the best
audit.
part.
Nope, don't worry, don't
journey or
worry.
We're
Okay.
further flustering him.
something. Yeah, you're welcome.
Like I said, there's unlimited users as well as unlimited uploads of documents, videos, voice notes, images. So we have the draft turbidity protocol that Michael Preston came up with. Conversion, there's this stuff beyond me. I don't really use turbidity meters, but Michael Preston told me to upload all this, so it's all in there. Invoices for 1 turbidity meters have been calibrated or sent to the vendor for updating or calibration. And I don't know if this one has it at all, but we've also added in items. So each asset has these action items, and again, these we can customize, we can add in, take out as needed. At the get-go, we had to dispose, transfer, send out for repair. These are mostly equipment manager type ones. So temporary office loan if something is on loan to another office, whether item is on long-term loan. So, used for multiple months. It kind of just sits with the staff, such as field cameras or GPS units. Report damage. We actually used this week because Joe Amato dropped a camera and it broke. So it's going to get disposed of. Item.
New one?
Joe.
No, old one.
Oh.
No, not your fancy camera.
Laura was
Lost
done
her.
with you. Peace. I don't even know what they're talking about. Who is this Sean guy?
Item check in, check out. That's the one staff will be using the most. We have an update equipment location for mobile I added in. So this is one feature where if staff are using or checking equipment with their mobile phone, if they have the location set on, it'll track where the piece of equipment is.
Jeez.
Not
I
automatically. You
turn
have
that
to.
shit off all the time. I don't want people to know where to find me.
It's creepy.
Get on Snapchat, that map thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh my god. There's a thing you can turn on Snapchat that your Snapchat followers can see where you are always.
That doesn't seem safe.
Right?
Chrissy's currently in the bathroom right now. Should we go talk to her? Yeah.
Getting back to this,
Sorry.
one thing I added in, it's other than update equipment location. That's if, I don't know, for some reason you need to know if somebody signed this out from the office on the web, it won't update the GPS location automatically. So somebody can send an email to staff, says, I need to know where the Archive Eagle is. Please scan the barcode or use the action item, update equipment location, and then we know where it is. But I also added in this calibration check action item. So this is really just set up for the turbidity meters right now, but there's opportunities to add in additional actions or revise this to make it a little more general. But right now this is based on a calibration check form that is supposed to be used for calibration of these meters every day, I'm told.
You do that, right?
Yeah. Every day.
So putting in the project number,
Turbidity is.
whether this item has been calibrated, whether the standard check has been complete, And all these little asterisks mean this is required and you cannot proceed further without entering something in. Whether all the asset components are present, whether the item is in working order, entering your standard check readings. These should all be actually 10 and 1 and all that. Whether distilled ionized water is present, all the site data, blah, blah, blah. Signed, save and close. So the action item has been completed, but going back to your history here, based on your calibration check, this is where all this information has been entered. There is a capability of preparing or coming up with templates for predefined forms. So based on that action item, this automatically generates a PDF report filled out in our standard calibration check format as soon as this downloads. There we go.
So that's scary.
Fills it all out for who's ever using it. And now we have a PDF record.
Better watch yourself, Sean, on those turbidity meters, man.
Because we'll be looking for your daily reports.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's also opportunity to set this up so it automatically sends it to certain emails or what have you.
We should make everybody who signs out the Dillon vehicle. Did you walk around? Did you kick the tires? Did you check the oil?
You can, yeah.
I just want to go to the store.
Yeah.
So touching on that, there is reporting functions on here like I alluded to. There are action reports, and all these some of them have been added in by Acid Panda as part of our implementation, and most of these I've added in myself with tweaking here and there. So all these action reports
She's back.
are set up for automatic. They're automated reports. So at 7 a.m. every Friday, I get sent reports from this.
So the reports show you what's been signed out by whom.
Yeah,
in that
depending on what
Amongst
what the
others.
setup was.
Yeah.
So right now I have ones that are broken down into weekly cost recovery of assets. So those are recoverable. Those that are just routine costs, more so just for tracking of things. Weekly review of materials that have been taken or added, and then summaries of long-term loan assets. So I click on that. It'll generate a report. And actually, before I get into that, I'll show you this. I just added this morning. Monthly expiring materials. So with all those turbidity meter standards I added in, I played with sending a notification. So it does send a notification within 14 days of the material expiring to the Toronto Equipment Manager. So that's more of a second measure. Similar to those automated reports for the recovery of assets, I have this set up to send a report to equipment management email every month.
So stuff that needs to be replaced soon because
Yep.
it's going to expire.
This will show materials that are expiring within the next 30 days. So if this works right, there should be 2 materials in there. Yep, 200 NTO standards that expire on February 23rd, which don't actually because we don't have them yet. This is just an example. So that gets sent to Toronto Equipment Management
As a reminder for you to
Yep.
order it.
as a month reminder, and then there's an also email notification within 14 days
Cool.
if for some reason it gets forgotten. And again, right now we have set up a group email, Toronto Equipment Management @dillon.ca. So that's set up if for some reason someone's leaving Dillon, they can add in other people. That way I don't have to go in here and change. You don't have to change the contact person for this.
Okay.
It's sent to that email.
So whoever has access to that email account
Yep.
can.
And right now, Sean and Treasury are on that group email too, so they actually have been getting everything. They probably have no idea what they're looking at.
A lot of emails.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fiddling with this.
Is there a way to set up, so if there are a lot of emails, I think it'd be handy to set up a filter in your inbox.
Yeah.
So is that
Like
is
this.
that what you have? So it automatically goes there
Yep.
instead of into your main inbox.
Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Yeah, do that. Otherwise,
So you'll see I So that monthly expiring materials one I just showed you?
Yeah.
So I had this set up at 12 o'clock to send me
And it did.
sending me this. Yep. So it
Cool.
sent me that. So and then this is just the example of the cost recovery one. They get sent weekly. And I can't remember. This really depends if anybody's had anything out right now.
This is the one I'm interested in. How do we make the link
Yes,
between
so
this sheet and
This
actually
this
trying
needs
to
a bit of not fleshing out, but conversation still with finance and OAs and trying to figure out because I don't want to put more work on Wendy or the OM or anything to sign to.
Can't you email it right to units@dillon.ca? That
Well,
they
we
get,
could, but there's still similar to an enterprise invoice or anything. Somebody still has a chance of entering the wrong
somebody has
project number or
gotcha.
confirmation that
Gotcha.
the number of days is correct. So the way this is broken out right now, and I've just been fiddling around with this week, is that it sends this report out, this particular one for items that are checked out. It breaks it down by the Dillon ID of the equipment, because one thing that I'm not too sure, and from my understanding, I think I'm correct, is that when there is cost recovery of items, it gets sent to units@dillon.ca, but it's based on that finance code, and it doesn't necessarily track back to that particular piece of equipment. So we do not know if we've paid it off or how much So right now, it just gets lumped in a big pool.
There's
So
no tracking.
we have no idea.
of actual
Peristalk,
cost
so this
of-
peristalk pump we actually got last year. Ryan Dunbar ordered it, and this also led to exploring this. All these peristalk pump, Archive Eagle, and a water level meter showed up. I was like, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
And so it turned out Ryan Dunbar ordered it on the service line basis. So yeah, I wasn't aware it was coming, and I had to figure that out.
Can this?
But this is good because we have the actual cost for these now. So that's the cost. The original cost for this is entered in the system, so we can activate depreciation, which I'm still figuring that out too, because you need to know if the peristalk pump is good for 12 months, then you need to know that you can enter that in. That stuff I don't really have too much knowledge of right now.
Can this whole system be used on work phones?
Yep, I'll get into that shortly. I'll try to make it go quick. But so it's broken down, Dillon ID for the equipment, the employee that is used, and then it breaks it down into the cost recovery, and it calculates how much the recovery cost is based on that fee and the number of days, the duration the staff has had it out. And it breaks the pages out based on the Dillon ID. So I was envisioning taking that sign out thing you put out on the invoices, the enterprise invoices, Wendy, and you can slap that on here.
Yeah, this is pretty good though, John. This
Yeah.
asset and this sheet.
Oh yeah,
It's cool. It's helpful.
and this is just stuff. This is me fiddling around with it. So based on feedback and suggestions, it'll only improve.
I think what's key, so there were some things like cost of items and what do we charge for and what don't we charge for.
Yeah.
I feel like that needs to be sorted.
Yeah, if
Out.
before this rolls out
Yeah.
like fully, then
Like,
that needs to be.
before we're rolling out, especially if we're going towards like an auto charging system, like project managers need to know well in advance what's
Yeah,
coming.
'cause
So I
there's
remember like when
that-
the SDAT thing came out, then all of a sudden people were getting charged. Like people lost their fucking minds, like really bad,
Mhm.
on the sort of owners of that program.
Yeah,
For like lack of heads up and discussions as to like what would be expected. This charge all of a sudden for $500 and people like lost it.
well the list on where all those codes are based off of is dated 2017, but it has things on there like, well, it has field cameras, it has GPS units. A camera apparently is supposed to be charged back to $50 a day,
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
but
You and I have, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've had conversations with Andrew to suggest like a GPS and a camera are to the field staff what the computer is to the office staff, and if
Yeah.
we're not charging
that's why
clients. for
That's
using
why
the computer,
I added in fields for equipment that notes the recovery type. So if
Yeah.
it's recoverable,
yeah,
actually
or not.
recoverable,
Yeah.
or if it's routine. So all the GPS units and cameras I put as routine.
Good call. Good call.
So
Yeah.
I'm not charging. Yeah,
I think the turbidity units rental.
yeah, and there's some that it's cheaper now it'd be cheaper to rent them than it would be to charge it out based on our.
So we need to
Charge it.
revisit our cost.
But if you do have to rent it, you would pass along that
We
cost,
do,
right?
we do,
So,
and if we are starting to charge our clients for using ours, but it's just cheaper to rent, what would the benefit of using
exactly,
ours?
exactly.
All right, so I'll quickly try to make the 1 o'clock time here. So quickly overview of the smartphone app. So it's everything that's on the web, but it's really just condensed, more compact for the smartphone. So again, it's got all the groups here. It's got the equipment assets, the employees. So this is really where the barcodes come into play, because when you have, even at 90 assets, it's a bit onerous to scroll down through all these assets. And again, if you know it offhand, then you can just search at it. But having the barcode, we're able to scan the item, and it'll come up. And then again, this will be all grayed out, because as a regular user, they won't have edit capability. Because I'm an admin, I have the advantage of seeing everything here. Then staff will have a little gear in the top corner, and that brings up the menu with all the action items. So if staff want to add documents or voice notes or videos on certain piece of equipment, they have that capability. But the primary function of this will be using all of the action items, such as the checkout item.
Can they report damage too if
Yep.
it's not working?
Yep, I'll run through the standard checkout. So this is based on their action items are based on you check out and then a return function. So the way this is set up right now, staff, I always click on the wrong spot. There we go. Staff, click on their anticipated return date, whether the asset has all its components. So this area here, this gray area, that would show up if this asset had additional components to it, such as a memory card or a case or anything like that. This is a spotting scope, so it doesn't have anything else. Whether the item's in working order, whether the item is calibrated, and not everything needs to be calibrated. So in case this is an NA, on loan with. Now I've had feedback as to why this, we have an additional field for adding who this is on loan with. And this really has to do with if items are being checked out on behalf of somebody else.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you can just like type in your last name and it pops up, yeah. So that big to filter the list.
Yep. And again, project number. It really comes into play if it's recoverable. But even if this is routine, it just helps to further track equipment. If we know if somebody forgets to return it and keeps getting the notifications but still forgets to return it, at least we know it was used on such and such project. So now the item is checked out. It automatically updates the status of the item. Checked out. And then when staff need to check it back in, again, they can scan it to get it up. And this is again where the calibration action item is. There's the reserve equipment action item. So if something is checked out or on loan, staff can use this action item and put in a reservation start date and an end date. And I believe I set this up so a notification gets sent to that staff when it becomes available.
Yeah, so if you need something and Sean's got it out, you can see that Sean has it?
Yep.
Okay. Like anyone can see who has it?
Yeah.
Right? So
Then
it's,
you
all
can
right.
reserve it, and I would get an email.
Yep.
Letting me know that that person wants it.
I am. That's what I want.
I know.
Magic. It's magic.
Genius. So you're participating on the Hangouts from your phone, I'm guessing.
Nope. I'm live streaming my phone right now.
You are genius.
So checking back in, this has a edit capabilities. So for some reason, if you said you want to return it on the 24th, but you actually need to change it to the 25th or what have you, you can actually update your check-in, or I mean your checkout, so you don't get those notification emails. But if you are ready to check in, then the user just scrolls down, item check-in. Everything else gets grayed out. Are your components still there? Are there components missing? So if you said no, then you list your components missing. And if you also click no, then this automatically sends an email to the Toronto Equipment Manager. Whether it needs repair, again, if you click no, it sends a notification. And then you put down your number of days you had this out. And this is really, it could just have this set up to automatically do this, because it does calculate the duration, number of days checked out. There it is. But for some reason you took this out on a Friday, but you only started using it on a Monday because you want to come to the office Monday morning to grab something. This is where you can adjust it. So you only had it out 2 days. You don't account for the weekend. Then it'll automatically update the equipment. And now when I get the action report on this Friday, this will show up.
Wow.
And it's usually, yeah, there we go. It's a bit quicker usually.
I've never been on my call. You know how I am. I'm barely.
But it is handy if you're just running down the field room to grab that thing.
Well, and I
Still have
have
the
some
ability to-
feedback from staff already, because for certain pieces of equipment, like if you're running out to do there is a function called a group scan. So instead of trying to do two things at once, there is a capability of scanning multiple assets at one time.
Okay, so if you need
Yeah, and then
5 things.
then you can do a group action.
Okay, so you can charge out all of the stuff
Yep.
to exactly the same information one time instead of 5 times separate. That's cool.
So you see the status has changed to available because we've checked it back in. So under tools, there's a group scan. And this is where we can scan multiple pieces of equipment at once.
And then you just fill out the form.
Yep.
Cool. Efficient.
That's the goal, is to make this efficient, simple enough that it doesn't deter people from using it, but also that nothing gets missed.
Very cool.
So cancel.
And determine how Rebecca got in our field room.
Yeah, I want to figure that one out. So you see the equipment, both pieces are up. So you can apply a group action or a group return if you're returning all at the same time. I have functions to delete scanned items because I'm an admin. I've almost did that one time.
Oopsie.
So this will come up with the little gearbox here in the top corner. And then you can check all the items out at once. Or check them back, or perform any of the actions.
You don't have to do it as a group though, like something needs repairing, something's checking in, something's staying out. There's 3 actions, 3 items.
I guess if the actions are different, then the group scan isn't.
Yeah, if they're all different, then it probably wouldn't.
Alright,
Yeah. If you're just going
I haven't-
down there to grab
And,
3 things and
yeah.
go.
Yeah, I haven't played around with it too much right now. I think that's it. I don't think of anything else. Does anybody any questions or want to see something in particular on the phone or the web app? And again, Laura, because you'll have more of a background, back end type role with it. I'll go over things like adding equipment and how adding the CSV files and all that works.
Yeah, I think I'll have a couple of questions after.
Sure, no problem. Christy,
I think we're
when
good. This is very cool. I'm excited to see
Very
this.
cool.
I'll have to
John?
use it, and then they might have questions.
yeah, it helps to start using it. Then you'll have a better idea. It's, like with anything, to actually see it is one thing, but then start using it.
Start working with it, and you go, oh, got it.
Yep. So yeah, and again,
Live stream to your phone.
Yeah,
Oh, you-
I was curious about that. as
YouTube.
well.
it's an app.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'd figure out how to do that.
Well done. Charles probably does